He walked into the restaurant, expecting nothing more than a quiet, expensive dinner. But the moment his eyes swept the room, he froze. There she was, his ex-wife, the woman he once promised forever to. Black, beautiful, and now visibly pregnant. Her hands clutched a tray of plates, her smile forced, her eyes tired. She moved between tables like she was carrying not just food, but the weight of 1,000 unspoken stories. Just a few years ago, she wasn't a waitress. She was his partner, building dreams with him, dreaming of their own family. And then, everything shattered. They hadn't spoken since the divorce. He thought she'd moved on, maybe even found someone better. But seeing her now, struggling, working while carrying another man's child, something twisted inside his chest. And yet, what he didn't know was that the truth behind her pregnancy, her job, and her pain had everything to do with him. By the time the night was over, he would uncover a secret so devastating, he'd never forgive himself. Marcus Reed was used to power. As a self-made millionaire, his days were filled with meetings, deals, and a life of comfort. He had once been married to Maya Carter, a brilliant woman whose sharp mind and warm spirit had been the foundation of his early success. They had dreams, plans, and promises that felt unbreakable. But when Marcus's career began to soar, his marriage crumbled under the pressure. Their divorce was quiet, almost businesslike, and Marcus told himself she'd be fine. He hadn't seen her in nearly 4 years. He imagined she'd moved on, perhaps remarried, maybe working in the corporate world where her talents could shine. But that night, stepping into a mid-tier restaurant on the edge of town, all those assumptions vanished. Maya was different now. Her belly showed the unmistakable curve of late pregnancy. Her hair was pulled back, but strands fell loose, framing eyes that had lost their spark. She wore a faded uniform with a name tag, her smile forced for customers who barely noticed her. Marcus's mind raced. Why was she here? Why was she working in a place like this, carrying trays when she should have been home resting? And, perhaps most disturbing of all, why did she look as though she had been fighting battles no one saw? Marcus kept his distance, choosing a table in the corner where he could watch without being seen. Maya moved slowly, one hand sometimes resting protectively on her stomach. She smiled at customers, but her eyes darted toward the manager, a man whose sharp glances carried something cold and controlling. When Maya finally saw him, she froze for just a moment, her smile faltering before she quickly looked away. She finished serving a table, then disappeared into the kitchen. Marcus's chest tightened. Something was wrong. He stayed and watched. A few minutes later, Maya emerged, but her steps were hesitant. The manager followed close behind, whispering something that made her shoulders tense. She nodded silently, placing a hand on her stomach as though grounding herself. Marcus's mind flashed to the woman he had loved. Confident, proud, unafraid to speak her mind. This Maya was quieter, smaller somehow, as if life had been pressing down on her for years. A busboy accidentally dropped a glass, and the manager's voice boomed across the room. But instead of scolding the busboy, he turned to Maya, snapping something sharp and cruel. The room fell silent for a moment, and Marcus could see the shame flood her face. She mumbled an apology and hurried toward the back. Marcus couldn't sit still anymore. He stood, moving toward the kitchen, but as he approached, 2 uniformed police officers entered the restaurant. They went straight to Maya. She looked startled, stepping back as one officer began asking questions Marcus couldn't hear. The customers watched, whispering. The manager folded his arms, smirking faintly. The officers led Maya toward the door, her face pale and lips trembling. Marcus's heart pounded. He didn't know what was happening, but he knew one thing. This wasn't just bad luck. Something was being done to her. Marcus followed them outside, his voice cutting through the cold night air. "What's going on? Why are you taking her?" One officer looked at him sharply. "Sir, this doesn't concern you." "It concerns me," Marcus said firmly, stepping between them. "This is my—" He hesitated. "This is someone I care about." Maya's eyes met his, shimmering with a mix of shame and desperation. "It's fine, Marcus," she whispered, though her voice shook. The officer spoke again. "We got a call about a disturbance and possible theft from the register." "That's ridiculous," Marcus said instantly. "She's pregnant. She's been working all night. Who made the call?" From the doorway, the manager stood with a satisfied smirk. Marcus realized it wasn't just personal, it was systemic. Maya wasn't just dealing with a bad boss. She was working under someone who saw her as disposable, someone whose prejudice could twist a minor inconvenience into a police matter. Marcus turned back to the officers, anger boiling. "You have no evidence. You're humiliating her for nothing. This is harassment." The crowd that had gathered outside began murmuring. Some pulled out their phones, recording the scene. The officers exchanged glances. Finally, they released Maya, muttering something about just following procedure before walking away. Maya clutched her coat around her, shivering, not from the cold but from the weight of yet another night where her dignity had been put on trial. Marcus walked her to his car, the silence heavy between them. As they sat inside, the truth spilled out. After their divorce, Maya had taken a corporate job, but when she spoke up against racial discrimination at work, she was pushed out. Pregnant and struggling to find another position, she took the restaurant job out of necessity. The manager had been targeting her from day one, cutting her hours, blaming her for mistakes, and now, this. Marcus listened, guilt gnawing at him. He had walked away years ago, thinking she'd be fine, never realizing how easily the world could turn cruel. That night, he promised himself he wouldn't walk away again. Maya's story wasn't unique. It was a reflection of the countless ways racism seeps into daily life, not always in grand headline-making acts, but in small, relentless blows that strip people of their dignity. As Marcus drove her home, she looked out the window, her voice barely above a whisper. "You can't fix the world, Marcus." "Maybe not," he replied, "but I can start here." The question is, how many more stories like Maya's will go unheard before we decide enough is enough?